TXU Energy asks, when it comes to picking an electricity
বুঙ্কু 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 আস্তে কর আস্তে কর।
No video, but I want video. I just need to cover my camera. Wait a minute, hold up. Microphone. That's mute.
Good afternoon and welcome to the GISD Town Hall. I'm getting a chime, so when you hear chimes, you're going to know that now we are at 204 participants and we'll be getting more. I would like to direct you to the chat feature at the bottom of your screen. There are several different buttons. On the chat, I've welcomed you and want to let you know that this town hall will take place over the next 1 hour. We have scheduled another town hall for our Spanish-speaking stakeholders, and that will be on Thursday morning. I'm going to get to as many questions and answers as we possibly can, but we also want you to know that there will be some unanswered. We just can't get to all of them in an hour. Well, maybe we can. We'll see who asks. In the meantime, people will be answering on the chat feature, so if you have a question and you'd like to put it there, that's great. All of them will be uploaded to our FAQs on the gisd.org Returning to Learning page. There will also be a recording of this town hall available to all of you as well. So the best way to let us know if you have a question is to, one, do the old-fashioned raise your hand on your screen if we can see your picture, or to use one of the reactions. So if you're gonna clap, if you're gonna give a thumbs up, or you're gonna raise a hand, any of those, I'm gonna assume you want to ask a question and we will go from there. So again, thanks to everyone for being here. I am now going to something which is unmute you all, which means that you have the ability to unmute and mute yourself. I would ask that if you're not asking a question, that you stay muted. We pick up a lot of background noise and we want to make sure everybody can be heard. So you now are at a point where you could unmute yourself, and if anybody out there has a question, if they want to raise their hand, again, please mute yourself. There are people that have not muted yet.
It's gonna be recorded, so I don't have to listen to it.
So mute yourself, that'd be great, thanks. And if anybody has a question, if you'd either raise your hand or put up a reaction sign, and we will get to you. So again, we have 279 participants, and if you would raise your hand or put up a reaction sign, we will call on you for your question. Right now, nobody has done any of those things. So don't be shy.
I have a question.
I have my hand up.
I'm sorry. If you will raise your hand and not
My hand is raised.
Okay, but I'm going through all the screens. We are now at 290. So
Okay.
I'm going to start with you. So thanks for being bold and do that. If you will state your name and your role and ask your question. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Meredith McMorris, and I have been a volunteer in GISD since 2002, off and on. And I would like to know what I could do from home for this school year, for any school.
Thank you, Ms. McMorris. I think that we will start putting together a list of those things. You, unfortunately, have not been high on our priority list as volunteers, as we've been pedaling this bicycle really, really fast. But I've heard from several people today that they want to be able to do that. And so we will most likely do these things. We will start a page, or we'll ask, again, ladies and gentlemen, if you'll put on mute, thank you. We will ask for those who want to volunteer, and we will start putting together a list of those things you can do. You are very kind to say things you can do from home, because we will be limiting access to our buildings, but we know we have much need. Thank you. Still looking for individuals who want to ask a question. You can use the reaction or your hand raised. That would be very helpful.
I've raised my hand and I've used the reaction and not being acknowledged.
Okay, there are 300 people on this Zoom, so thank you for your patience. I'm so thankful for that. Dorothy, go ahead.
Question. I received in the mail a link for my Isaiah to register by sale. but it didn't give him the opportunity if he wanted to only do 6 weeks. So is SAIL the way that we're going?
So SAIL is our fully remote option, and it is only for a 6-week period of time. You have to re-up each time. We are bound by state law that says that we cannot make somebody go to remote for more than the grading period. So for high school students, that's 6 weeks. Through pre-K through 8th grade, that's 9 weeks. So there will be that opportunity once you're in to be able to re-up for each grading period. Good question. Thank you.
But I went to your website
Mhm.
and I did not see the registration for just regular registration for school.
Okay, are you a returning student or are you a new student to GISD?
Returning.
Then registration will open next week. We had it
Okay.
open all during the month of April and May, and we closed it down for a period to catch up for our system. And so next week we will reopen registration for returning students. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mhm.
Okay, other questions? Steve, please.
Okay. So yeah, I had a question. So the first 4 weeks, it's online, remote from home. So if I want my child to go to come to school, I don't need to do anything else or register anything else. I just leave it alone, or do I do something else additional, requesting for him to go to class after the 4 weeks is over with?
You read correctly. So if you do not sign up for SAIL, then we presume that you're going to go to the GISD on-site model after the 4-week transition. During the 4-week transition, however, you're going to be getting a lot of communication from your campuses. So that will be reinforced and embedded as we go along, but you're correct. Nothing else for you to do on-site after the transition.
Okay, all right.
Thank you. Kristen. Kristen, please go ahead. Okay, let me see if Casey Marks, please go ahead.
Hi, my question is about Ball High and the way the 2-day on campus and 2-day off campus works. Would you take us through a typical day of a student that's staying at home versus a student that is staying on the campus?
So we really don't have a typical day yet, but I will invite Mr. Pillar, who's on here, to answer the best that we have at this point. It certainly is a developmental project. Mr. Pillar, can you answer Ms. Mark's question?
Yes, ma'am. The way we have it planned out would be that there'd be A through K and then L through Z, the 2 different groups. So Monday and Tuesday, A through K would come to school and L through Z would be at home. There would be a lesson that's presented in person, and that same lesson would also be a remote lesson for students that are at home. And then vice versa would occur on Wednesday and Thursday. So so if my last, like Ms. Marks, your last name, Ms. Marks, obviously. So Monday and Tuesday, they would be at home doing the virtual lesson, but they would have the opportunity to make contact with the teacher via multiple methods, which more information to come. And then Wednesday and Thursday, they would get that lesson in person, which they can ask questions. And then they would have the other group of students would be doing the virtual lesson from A through K, would be home doing that. So the idea, and then Friday is virtual for everybody, so the teacher can get caught up. The idea that is on Friday, the teachers will be creating those videos so that there's a video matching the lessons for the week. So 2 major lessons for the week will both be done in person and in virtually, which is the one of them, half the students will see one of them virtually, and then the other half of the students will see the other lesson virtually. So the idea there is to give them time. Then on Friday, there will also be the opportunity to have tutorial times while teachers on the computer for 2 hours to be able to sit down and work with students to see what they need caught up, what the difference between knowledge and what they thought they knew, what they didn't know, things of that nature. Also, we're looking at a even and odd schedule. There's only 4 classes each day. So they'll go 1, 3, 5, 7, and then 2, 4, 6, 8, and it alternates every other day. So you'll see 4 classes on Monday and then your other 4 classes on Tuesday, and classes are an hour and 45 minutes long. Does that help?
It does. I think my question was specifically, like, say my kid has a math and algebra class. So in that week, you're saying he will be taught 2 concepts. One of them will be online and one of them will be in the classroom.
Yes, ma'am.
But the same teacher is teaching the online as well as the in the classroom part.
For those students, yes.
And you're not saying that like the math teacher teaching that, my student will just be watching that teacher teach the first one?
I'm sorry.
Okay, so the 2 concepts that you're teaching, one will be totally online and one will be totally at school.
Correct.
Okay.
Right. And then I think the best part of that is why when you go to school after you learn the first one online, when you go to school the next time, we have an hour and 45 minutes in that class, which gives us the opportunity to review and proceed on with the new lesson.
So there's, as we're continuing to develop, we plan, based on feedback from this town hall, offering a high school only town hall. That way you can have specific questions as we continue to develop that plan. I encourage you all to continue to look at our website. We'll continue to put updates on there, especially for the new programs, which are the SAIL, our fully remote program, as an opportunity for all families to choose, and the high school hybrid program. Thank you again for your questions. Rebecca, you have a question.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I think he just answered my question. With my last name being F, I just want to make sure, so my son will go to school Monday and Tuesdays every week. That won't change.
They go to school every day, but they actually
No, I mean
to the school. Yeah, they
actual
go
school.
to the school on Monday and Tuesday. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and I have one more other question about bus riding. How will the bus work?
So we're working on that. You will be contacted once we know those individuals, those families that want bus service. We'll be getting in contact with you. Obviously, with the hybrid, that would just be on those 2 days. But for everybody else, it will be very similar to what we've had before, except that the buses will have fewer riders. For the safety part of it, you get a squirt of hand sanitizer. You must wear your mask. You're seated 1 to a seat, unless you're a family member, and then you can have 2. But we will have our transportation department sending that information to you. We do have an upgrading transportation this year that actually has a feature that you can get online to your phone and find out where your child is on the bus, or where that bus is. I don't know if your child will necessarily be on that bus like they're supposed to be. So that's coming around too. So transportation will contact those parents who are choosing transportation services. Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. You answered my questions. Thank you very much.
Galaxy S10, you're up. Galaxy, can you unmute and ask your question?
Actually, I am my son will be a returning student, but he's in the dual program. How is that going to affect the high school?
Dual credit?
Yes.
Right now, we are working very closely with Galveston College, and we will continue to offer those courses. We will continue to offer advanced placement. We will continue to offer dual credit, and we have good communication going back and forth. Again, that's one of those courses that will kind of continue to iterate as we go, but we are in communication and we will be offering them.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Teresa, you're up.
Thank you. I'm going to try to be quick. I was asking about who's going to hold parents accountable for reporting symptoms, testing, and to the rules for return 10 days after first appearance symptoms. How are we going to monitor that?
So one of the things we're having to do is we're using that transition time to work through what does that look like for getting small groups of kids in and going through that process. But we have authorized for additional support in our nursing staff at all campuses, so that we'll have 2 health professionals on the campuses. We will be announcing very shortly kind of a COVID camp captain for the district. Right now it's been Human Capital Management in my office that have been taking in those calls and connecting with the Galveston County Health District, but we'll be able to do that as well. When you come in each week, we're going to ask that teachers call into their Eric, I have your hand. I see it. I'll call you in a second. You can rest your arm. As you call in, as teachers will call in to parents and families and ask them the set of questions. We will ask very kindly that parents sign a participation in form in this. We need our parents to be honest with us. We need our parents to report, and we will have numbers to which that they can connect in case they are experiencing symptoms or they have a lab confirmed case. We are already in the process of working through our staff with communication. So as we have individuals in our organization who present positive, we have a weekly update. We know by law that we are required to announce to all parents and families when there are positive cases on the campuses. So we will continue to have those communication efforts as well. Staff will need to self-temp and temp when they come in. We are finding more and more that students and temperature are not coincidental in the virus. So until a student says, I'm feeling hot or I'm feeling icky, and we send them to the nurse, we're not going to do group temperatures in that way. Individual classrooms, however, have some discretion to do that. We have quite a few of the non-touch thermometers that we are making available to teachers, and if they feel comfortable in their class and have communicated with their parents, they may be taking temps on a daily basis. It's a exercise in trust, Teresa, very much, because we're going to have to assume that you're going to tell us the truth and we're going to stay up on top of it. One of the things we're noticing on the percentage of individuals who indicated early on that they wanted to do remote means that we will have additional people on our campuses to be able to help and support some of these pay attention protocol things that we say that we want to do, and that we will ensure that we're doing if we say that we're doing them. Thanks. Again, if you'd like to ask a question, if you will go to the reactions or raise your hand or put your hand in the air, let's go to Eric.
Hi, hon. My daughter is going to be starting in 9th grade at Ball High. And if we start in person after the 4 weeks, will there be an option to move to remote?
There will always be an option to move to remote. You have to feel comfortable as a parent and as a family asking your children to come to school on a daily basis, and we want to make sure that's easy for you. However, the reverse, we are reserving for the time period. It's going to be very difficult if people go initially on fully remote sale and then overnight they want to return class to class. We won't be staffed properly. So we will ask that we have a time frame of a grading period in order to make that happen. So you can go to remote pretty much anytime you start to feel uncomfortable on the campus, but returning to campus, we reserve for the end of each grading period.
Okay. Thank you.
So again, if you have questions, if you'd raise your hand either through the reactions or your hand in the air if there's a picture. If you are not on mute, we would ask that you do that. You probably don't want us hearing everything that's going on in the background. Still looking for individuals who want to ask a question.
Antonella.
Okay, Jessica Bowen.
Hi, I have an incoming pre-K4 student, and I am curious what in the classroom learning will look like. And also, you had mentioned the kind of a phased introduction for pre-K and kinder kiddos. Can you talk a little bit about what that will look like for the phasing and for when they are in person, since they are so little?
Yeah, so that's one of those things that obviously keeps me and you up at night, trying to make sure that we attend to a child who doesn't have an experience to draw on for what school is supposed to be like. Our principals are working right now with our curriculum and department in order to determine the best use of those 4 weeks of transition. And I can tell you every time our pre-K and K come up as an essential group that we must somehow introduce to the school. If you've ever been to a school at the first couple of days with pre-Kers, they're hugging everybody, sometimes out of fright, sometimes out of joy. I don't know which one, but we have to be able to move through that because we're not going to be able to have that same sort of contact. We are putting together some videos that kind of demonstrate what a classroom would look like, so you can feel more comfortable in seeing what a GISD classroom will be set up for those age groups. But it is a prime concern, the pre-Ks and Ks. And what will happen over the next several weeks as we go into get closer to the 24th, we will be contacting the families with pre-K and K students to bring you to the campus, or at least offer you that introduction and what that's going to look like. I can't say that it's fully fleshed out now, but it is a primary for us.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Tracy, how can we help you?
Yes, about I have a middle schooler and a elementary student. About how many kids are going to be in each classroom if they decide to go back after the 4 weeks?
So we've measured classrooms, and our standard size is 700 feet. When you divide that by 36 square feet, which is the 6-foot round, you can put 19 kids in a classroom, but we know we've got bookshelves, we've got cabinets and those sorts of things. So the guidance that I've given our principals is that 15 students to a classroom is what we're expecting. Now, I can say when you start getting a little bit into more specific courses, like maybe in high school, or there might be some in junior high, if there's 16 kids in that class that show up, it may be 16, but we're not loading classes. We're using 15 as our standard to keep students appropriately distanced.
Okay, and also for the 4-week period that we're extending school to start, like I have 2 kids, I only have 1 computer. Are they going to be providing computers, or how's that going to work?
So that's a super good question. It is our intention that as we move through this school year, every student will have a device. We're moving to what's called a 1-to-1 district. However, you can imagine that around the world, people are trying to get computers. And so although we've ordered thousands of them, I think we're up to like 3,400 computers that we've ordered right now. We have some already ready to go. We will asking parents, if you have something at home, use it in the meantime, but we will be getting everybody a device as we go through the school year. So when you have 2 students, you'll be looking at their schedule, and if they have to be on at the same time, that means that you would need a second one. We will be offering that to our families, that there will be devices. Additionally, for those families that have difficulty accessing the internet because they don't have the service, we also have 1,225 hotspots. So those are mobile internet connectivity devices that we will also be checking parents so they can do that. In the meantime, also, we have 9 buses that have internet connectivity that will park around town between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. And so that if you're close to that bus within 1,000 feet, you'll be able to get GISD internet as well. We also are working with many of the businesses around town to be able to identify who has internet accessible, and we will be making those lists available too. So we want to be able to get to a point where we can put a device in everybody's hand and have good connectivity. We know it's a process. We will be contacting.
Okay, Matthew, Howard's here.
Again,
Howard is here.
Please go to mute if you're not
We're
already.
a little bit early.
Thanks.
So how do I sign off of this thing?
What?
How do I sign off? Show me.
So we're still hearing people in the background, but the point is we'll get you a device.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure. Antonella.
Hi, my son will be in 10th grade this year, and we still are kind of undecided whether enrolling still or not, although we're inclined to that. So I have a little concern about our experience during the lockdown, when classes were online, were mixed. So if we had a problem with understanding or with the lesson, it didn't always get solved. So how do we address that? I said, it is my kid, but I mean, sometimes topics are difficult and, you know, availability. Sometimes things happen a little bit later during the day, they're not available anymore. So it's, when they're up to them, they might remember at 5 o'clock, oh, I don't know that, instead of being in school. You know what I'm saying? So
I absolutely do.
The teacher has not been outstanding, and that has been a problem.
So let me share with you that we've learned a lot since the spring. And so we are getting smarter, and that's a good thing. So you will have better attention. Our administrators know to better ask their teachers to attend to their students. There's a couple of things that can help me answer your question better. Are you intending to put them on the on-site with the 4 weeks remote, or on the sale, which is, the fully virtual?
I will prefer the sale, but also
Okay.
I'm hoping to have a very good, I mean, these are formative years. There's going to be chemistry, has a lot of AP dual classes. I mean, I want him to have the best experience. That's what I'm worried about, honestly.
So I'm going to ask Julia Ramirez to step in here. She is one of the principals, along with Michelle Hammonds, at our sale site. And I want her to talk about what the synchronous and asynchronous, or during the time and on your own, could mean for a student. Julia, are you on?
Yes, I'm here. So the way the sales schedule is going to run for high school is we're actually mirroring the same schedule that Ball High is offering once they are back on site. The difference is sale will not be as aligned to the hybrid model where the kids only have to come 2 days. We want them there every day. So the way those higher classes like honors and AP courses are going to work is that students would have the opportunity to work with the same teachers that they would have at Ball. So the Ball High teachers, some of them might be scheduled a virtual period, and kids would be able to interact with those teachers and have some of the same curriculum that on-site students are getting.
Okay.
Does that help?
Partially.
I know. Just like I said before. Just like I said before,
definitely a work in progress. It definitely, we definitely have to see how many students we're going to get in sale, to see how many kids need what courses and that kind of thing. But just know that sale and Ball High are working hand in hand to make sure we get the best experience for both sets of kids.
So just like I said, Ball High School Hybrid would have a separate town hall. We are also planning a sale town hall, especially now that the sign up for sale has started. So we will blast that out on all our same channels, and we will make sure that families have that information so you can ask those really specific questions. Annie, your hand is up.
Yeah. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I know that this is not the most important thing right now, but my daughter is going to be a senior, and she's very concerned about the way that things are going to be handled, like having a prom and graduation. And I know it's way off, but I told her I'd ask and see like how creatively we are thinking about making them have some kind of a normal senior year.
So you're not way off, because you're not the first question on that topic. So that's good. People are thinking about that. I really don't have an answer from my viewpoint. Mr. Pillar, have you guys brought a group together to start talking about that, or do you want to get school started first? Where are you guys on helping make this a good year for class 2021?
I'll be honest with you, Dr. Moulton, we're in the process of getting the year started. To make it unique for 2021, it's not even on the table yet. Not to be rude, it's going to take a lot to get this year started to begin with. And then as we move on, we'll make more decisions on how to find a uniqueness to it.
I totally understand that. I just promised I'd ask. And also another question that she had, and I'm sorry I interrupted you, Dr. Moulton, but was if you guys had any, when she read the plan, she was like, I don't see a plan to ever go back to 5 days. And so I'm trying to kind of get the correct answer, so I'm not lying, but maybe some optimism. I don't know if there's a plan.
So just like the virus is unpredictable, our schedule has to stay flexible with it too. We have had minor discussion that all of this will be evaluated as we go into the spring semester. So everything's still on the table, especially if a vaccine is developed and it's readily available, and we learn more about the virus and are better able to protect our health and the health of our students. So nothing's off the table. I mean, that's what makes it so darn confusing for all of us.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time and your work on this, everybody.
Thanks. 2020, your hand is up.
I completely missed the beginning, so I'm completely lost. I need to find out exactly what the options are.
So we didn't actually talk about the options at the beginning. If you go to our website, which is gisd.org/returning to learning, you can get the 15-page plan. You can also see a video that I put out, which is about 13 minutes that can kind of give you an option. But in the big picture, what we're saying is that parents have choice. And as you start this school year, you can choose for your children to have a fully remote option, or you can choose for your children to have an on-site option. That on-site, however, has a 4-week transition where you will not be at school. So what that means is everybody's pretty much virtual or remote for the first 4 weeks. You can go on the website, you can give us a call and we can give you more information. The returning to learning plan is there. And we're here to answer questions and to make you feel comfortable about it. But right now, as a family, I would suggest that you decide what you want first. Do you want to do a fully remote, or do you want to do an on-site, knowing that the first 4 weeks are transition and not everyone will be on campus during that time?
Okay, so what's the date after the remote, the 4 weeks remote?
So everybody starts remotely on the 24th of August, and it will be September 21 is the Monday that we anticipate the on-site students to come back to school.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Daniela.
Hi, Dr. Moulton. Okay, so my question to you is, I have an upcoming 4th grader, and I am a full-time worker. So my concern will be, it's like, is there going to be like a certain amount of hours that my child will be doing virtual learning, or how will it work?
Okay, so are you interested in just the on-site with the transition and then moving your child to school at some point?
So she's doing the first 4 weeks online, of course, and then afterwards she will go to school.
Okay, so yes, there will be an amount of work for your students to do each day. We are mindful that you cannot set a child in front of a computer for 6.5 hours. So we're putting all of that together, and schedules will come out. I can say for that transition period, it will probably be slightly less than what we would do once we get full blown, because much of the first 2 weeks is going to be over routines and procedures and getting back. How do you wash your hands at home? Well, this is how we're going to do it at school. This is why you wear a mask and why it's important. This is how we're going, especially for those kids that are a little bit older, like a 4th grader, how are you going to line up now that you're not allowed to line up anymore? All of those things will be opportunities for our kids to talk with our teachers if they have those remote devices. Some of it will be phone calls to y'all, trying to help bridge that communication with the teacher and the student. So there will be time for them to be on. There will be meaningful work to do. Some of it's trying to figure out where our students are academically, since they had a bit of a break. So we'll be working on those things.
So there's still no there's no certain hours that they will be like sitting on a computer yet. You will have to talk, the teachers will have to talk it out with the parents to see what works better for us, correct?
Yeah, especially for the littles, because if we dial you in and say you must be in your computer at 10:30, well, we've got lots of moms like you that work. And so that's not a good time. So while we would like that one-on-one, maybe in a classroom, not one-on-one, but computer and teacher on a setting, what we're calling synchronous, it's not going to work for everybody. So the asynchronous is whenever you and your child can get to it, and then have some check-in time. Will there be like office hours that we do for teachers, but check-in time when you can get to the teachers?
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Moulton. That was my only question.
Okay, Drigg B, D-R-I-G-G-B.
Yes, ma'am. For the children that are on the 504 program and have like dyslexia extra, normally when they're on campus, they have extra time where they're pulled out and get that extra help. Will that still be available and included in the SAIL program?
Yes, all of our programs will be provided in both programs. Obviously, we really work hard in Galveston to customize a program for your students. So I can't tell you exactly what that would be, but you will be contacted. Any of you that are on here because you have very specific concerns about special ed services or 504 services such as dyslexia, and even our dual language services or bilingual services. We will be getting in touch with you over the next several weeks. Our staff really don't return to work until the 10th. And so a lot of that, what's going on now is kind of behind the scenes, administrative, but when staff get in and your child is assigned to them, they will be making contact with you. But yes, dyslexia services will continue.
Okay, thank you.
If you have iPhone, it says iPhone on there. There might be a couple of those, but if you got your hand up with iPhone, please ask your question.
Hi, this is
Hi.
Leslie. Did I interrupt someone else?
Well, I was going to say, I may have been iPhone, but my question have been answered, so you can just
Okay,
go
great.
ahead.
Well, good. Then Leslie just happened to be next. So Leslie, ask your question.
I think mine probably says iPhone. So is there guidance already about the face mask versus face shields that I can read somewhere else?
We're using the term face covering. So any face covering is appropriate, but every child will have a face covering. You can, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say you can provide one from home. We will also have like the paper folded masks available for students. We will have face shields for some students as well. So it's a combination of us all working together.
Okay, and is the online time for the sale versus the remote learning the same number of minutes each day? 6 hours roughly for my elementary and middle?
Right. So during that transition period, it will be different because you have different teachers, but those two groups are working together to make alignment because we think it's important that every child have equal opportunity. So I think that's a great one for our CNI team to fare out a little bit more. So I appreciate that comment.
Okay, the last one is I wanted to know if the district is looking at all at the outside spaces at each of these properties. For example, my youngest is at Oppie Elementary, and Greta's Garden has a covered place where children could be, and I prefer to have my children outside regardless of COVID. Is the school district looking at any of that?
Yes, and specific to campus, because not all campuses are the same. But there's kind of a, we have to wait. If you think about last summer, Leslie, we would have said, oh, get the kids inside because there's air conditioning and it's too hot. This year, we're trying to say, get them outside where there's fresh air. So all of those things are in play. Individual campuses will have individual attacks on how they're going to utilize their outdoor space. So that's good. Ms. Pretz is on this call, so she's heard you, which means that she will be working on a plan to hopefully incorporate that.
Yes, let's get them outside. Thank you.
You're welcome. EA Barn H, I think Barn Hall, I can't quite tell.
Hi, Dr. Moulton. Thanks for taking my call. This is Erin Barnhart, and my daughter is going into first grade at Parker. And I would like her to be at school in person if possible. I've heard that there are a lot of teachers who are reluctant to return to the classroom because fears about infection and other complications. And I worry about the potential emotional aspect of her having a teacher that doesn't want to be there because they feel afraid. And I want to make sure that that's not what's happening.
So I sure hope that's not what's happening. We've asked our staff to be very honest with us. We've taken a self-evaluation of staff in terms of what their health risks are. And we've also asked them what their attitude or their fear factor is in returning to the classroom so that we can choose to place teachers where they feel most effective and most comfortable in teaching. We will need teachers to do the sale. We know that, but we will need teachers in classrooms as well. So we hope to incorporate their considerations and concerns in making those assignments. We have not yet made those assignments. We've taken the self-assessment and we have that information in front of us so that we can take that next step. But yes, the social and emotional health of all of us is a prime concern. And you're right, we talk all the time. I've got a lot of principals on this call right now, and we say the school reflects your personality, but we know that a classroom reflects a teacher's personality, and we want them to bring their very best every day and to not be anxious or afraid when they're in the classroom. So thanks for caring about them and your child, as that's a reflection.
Thank you.
Dorothy. Dorothy, are you there?
You've already answered my question. Thank
Okay,
you.
I'm going to put your hand down. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
How about Sandra?
Hello. Hey, Dr. Moulton, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, hi. I wanted to ask the question about me and my husband are both nurses. So, and we have a 1-year-old. So as far as we want to do SAIL for our son, no ands, if, and or buts. So as far as schedules and time, what is the time frame that you guys are requiring for the first grader to do per day?
So Michelle Hammonds, Michelle, you're on the line, I believe, and you're in a position that can answer this. As I mentioned before, Michelle is the principal of, I guess we'll call the lower school of SAIL, pre-K through 6th grade. Michelle?
Okay.
Absolutely. So on the SAIL website, we have posted a sample schedule of what that might look like. It is still definitely a work in progress as we're working with our campuses to meet the needs of all of our students. But in the premise is that the teachers will have assigned times that they will be online live teaching virtual lessons. Feedback from parents in the spring was that they wanted to see their child's teachers actually teaching their students. But we also recognize that some of our families can't log in at those certain times. So those lessons will be recorded and posted into Canvas for those students. And so attendance for SAIL can be captured in 2 different ways. One of that is when they log in synchronously and then that live instruction, but also by interacting with the Canvas course and submitting assignments and things like that, which they'll need to do for kind of each of their content areas. So even at the elementary level, they would have to make sure they're doing their reading and their math and their science and social studies and their specials so that grades can be taken. Does that answer your question?
It kind of does. I mean, I figured that's what was going to happen, but I was wondering if there's like, a time frame such as, 240 minutes per day or 360 minutes per day, just because my husband and I will be switching schedules and rotating, given that we have a 6-year-old and a 1-year-old, no daycare, and we're not doing on-site learning.
Right. So it will be the equivalent of a full instructional day. But again, the amount of time that would be synchronous where they would log in and to have live instruction would probably be less than 2 hours in a day.
Less than how much? Sorry, you broke up.
Less than 2 hours total.
Okay.
Per day for logging in for like live interaction. But then there'll be other asynchronous activities for their courses where they get their grades for them to work on. And that would be kind of at that student's pace.
Right, exactly, based on their learning needs. Okay, well, thank you so much for that.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Charlene. Charlene,
Hello,
yeah,
I'm here.
We can hear you.
Yes, I have a question on the returning teachers who may have underlying conditions or their family members that have underlying health conditions. So I was concerned about that.
So again, we have taken a self-assessment of our staff to best place them where they can be most effective. And so we have identified individuals who either themselves or their people living in their home have concerns, and we will be working to place them accordingly. So it's a lot of movement, but we want to make sure that we have courses covered at all the different levels, and we want everybody to feel safe in our campuses. So yes,
Okay.
it's on our plate.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. Tina, how can we help you?
Hello, yes, I have a question. What's going to be the plan for lunches and for the meals distribution for the students who are at the schools?
So for the on-site students, we're still feeding our students. We are so fortunate in Galveston to be part of the CEP program, which means that all of our children receive free breakfast and free lunch. And so we will continue to do that, but there are some restrictions. We can no longer serve out of a big dish. If you think about going through the cafeteria line, you got a spoon and one on your tray. Instead, they will be self-contained units. So think about for lack of a better term, and I know our child nutrition person's gonna like slap me upside the head, but think of a pizza pocket, and an orange and a chocolate milk. Okay, those are all self-contained units, and those will be provided to the students. We are asking that all classes eat in their classrooms. Now, for our elementary and middle schools, eating breakfast in their classroom is something that they're very used to, but we're also going to make that available for lunch. There will be some use of our cafeterias depending on the independent campus, where we can sit students appropriately distanced, all facing the same direction. We may use some of the larger areas like cafeteria, but they are all, I think what the business calls grab and go, meaning that they're either in a sack or a container and you pick it up and you go. That will be quite a change for some of our high schoolers who are used to having multiple choices. Some of those choices will not be there during this time as we try to keep everybody as safe as possible. On an aside, you didn't ask about those at campus, but we will continue to make meals available for our SAIL students as well. So just like we've done this summer with some curbside pickup, we will arrange where parents can come and pick up meals for the week. A little different than summer because we didn't ask you to identify who your child was and what school, but very much we will be asking you who your child is so that we can account for those meals appropriately. Hope that helped a little bit. I've got some people who I think are asking second questions. Teresa, did you want to ask another question? Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Not to be a question hog, but we were curious about, let's see, there's so much. If there are not enough, how are we allocating students and teachers? Like if there are not enough teachers on a campus because they've been assigned to SAIL and there's more students than we can accommodate, what are we going to do about that? Are kids going to be shifted? Are teachers going to be shifted? What's going to happen in that situation?
That's a great question, and we've had limited conversation about that. But what we have discussed is that we don't anticipate that that's going to happen, one, based on the information that we got early on from parents. But as they can, and that's why we needed the 6-week time to make sure that we could shift off of SAIL back to on-site if more parents want to come back to school. So we'll certainly be using our signups to make sure that we're in the right place as the school starts. But let's just say, for example, one of our elementary schools only has 10 students that want to attend on-site. Not likely, but just let's say. Those students then would be moved to another site. That's just economically better for the school district, but it's socially better for the students as well. So we'll take those as they come. Like we said, we just opened up SAIL yesterday, so we hopefully can get some more information and start moving forward on that. Don't have the answer because we don't have the answer yet, but thanks for the question. Devon? Mute.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. You said that Fridays would be a day that everybody learned from home and it would be more tutoring or addressing any of their questions about the lessons on the prior 4 days of the week. Is that right?
That's for high school only.
Okay. My daughter's at Ball. She's a senior. I wanted to know I know at the end of last year, there were things that she wasn't able to access and that weren't getting turned in, but not because she wasn't trying to. On Fridays, will we be able to sit with our child and address those things that they might otherwise forget and not be able to do the rest till the next week? Will we be able to sit there and ask the teachers, why am I not getting this? Yeah. I can't get through.
So again, we've learned so much since the spring, and our expectations for what our staff is going to be able to do. We turned on a week last time. Now we have a little more ramp up time, and there certainly are expectations from my office to principals and principals to teachers about the amount of communication that we have with parents. We told parents that, yeah, your teachers are calling you. That wasn't happening, and that's unfortunate that our back and forth didn't reflect what was actually happening. We have plans in place now that there will be, those expectations will be monitored, not just said aloud. So yes, also I can say that high school is building in what are called office hours. So if you think back to college days where there would be time that the instructor is accessible for phone calls or for Zooms, and to be able to do that. And that reminds me of something else, because I see a couple of names on here who asked me this question before, but we have invested in Zoom, and we will allow our students and our teachers to use that platform. It has become the most efficient and effective way of communicating. People are becoming very familiar with it. And although we have Microsoft Teams and we have Google Meets, we will continue to use Zoom as one of our platforms. So yes, better communication, and we want your senior to have a great year and finish strong. And Mr. Pillar, is there anything else you want to say about communication with students at Ball High during hybrid?
Yes, ma'am. That's the whole point of that is like I said on Friday, for instance, that she was referring to. We'll have teachers online to answer those kinds of questions. And yes, obviously the parent can sit with the student and ask those questions and things of that nature. So we'll have more coming out next week. We're in the process of finalizing stuff now.
Thank you. Brandy, your hand's up.
Hey, Dr. Moulton. My question was I know that the SAIL program is open to register all the way until the 9th, and we're supposed to return the 10th. I know it's all depending on how many numbers, but is there any idea when teachers will know what they're chosen for, and what are the campus requirements if you are chosen for the online program?
So we are working on that right now. We have the completed self-assessment forms that you all filled out, and we'll be going through that and then kind of setting some lines so that yes, you are definitely SAIL, yes, you are definitely on site, but there may be this group in the middle that we're going to have to move and adjust and shift. Again, we took that early survey of parents, and we were about 42% on site. We don't think it's increased any since we've had a spike since then. So those are about the numbers that we're going to use. We know that at SAIL we won't be staffing at a 22-to-1, which is our regular on-site staffing pattern for elementary, 25-to-1 for high school, but it will be a higher number than that. So you can take on more students in a remote environment than you can face-to-face. So we're working on it. We hope to have information out. I do anticipate that I'll give some more information to your principals tomorrow during a principal meeting. So bug them too, okay? Sandra Schneider, your hand is up.
You answered already for me. Okay. I don't know why it's still up.
That's okay. If the hands don't come down.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Leslie, your hand is back up. You have another question, or is that left over?
That was left over. Sorry about that.
It's okay. Devon, is your hand also left over, or you have another question?
No, I don't. I just don't know how to get rid of the hand up.
Okay, I can get rid of it for you. No problem. Steve, same thing with you. Is your hand still up, or you have another question?
Yeah, I have another question.
Please.
I have a 8th grader at Austin Middle School, and are they going to be required to check in online, like attendance, or they can just do their schoolwork, as they would like to throughout the week? Or is there going to be like checks and balances, like on a daily basis, where they have to be there at this time? Can you give me a little more information, about that, please?
I can. I think Mr. Neighbors is on the line. Mr. Neighbors, are you on? He may have stepped off.
Hello,
so Steve,
everyone.
Oh.
Yeah, so our plan is to follow that. So TEA has changed some of the guidelines since we were back in the spring. So in the spring, every district was allowed to sort of do what they wanted to as far as how we took attendance and how we monitored student engagement. But now the TA has set up very specific guidelines for there are 3 ways each day that we can count a student present. So for those 4 weeks, we are going to follow the same general guidelines that TA has put out for the SAIL program. And so there will be 3 different ways students can log in, they can turn in work. We'll provide those details, but there will be 3 specific ways that students can be counted present each day during the remote time. And they won't be able to just wait until the weekend and do all their work at once. They will have to engage a little bit each day to be counted present.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And I would add to that, it may be that you don't have, it may not be happening exactly at that same time that a course would happen. And I know that SAIL has been very explicit about saying by 11:59 that night is when you have to have interacted or turned something in. And so you'll continue to get more information on that. But we know that, many parents, even if they're leaving their children at home or with another adult during the day, they'd like to be there for that instructional time. So it may not happen during what we consider the instructional school day from, 8 to 3. It might be later in the evening. So thanks for the question. Danielle Alvarado. Can you put the mute?
Okay, sorry about that.
You're good.
Question for Ball High. My child is in the dual credit academy, and so Galveston College has their classes only online for the fall. So do we know what that will look like?
Dr. Moulton, Eric Paul, you're on here. Eric, I'll defer to you.
They'll remain online.
Okay.
If it's any kind of AAS program, such as the career tech like welding, electrical, HVAC, those folks, however, will be on a rotating basis type schedule to where they will have to do face-to-face, but the straight academic dual credit, it will remain online.
Okay, so they will just have to work that into their school day. It's for the sophomores that are doing the music appreciation. Yeah.
So I would suggest, Ms. Alvarado, what you're going to see is that there will be space somewhere at Ball High, if that happens to be that class period, where a student can go in and the room will be proctored, facilitated in some way, but students may be working on different things, such as the way we would use a regular computer lab.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. James, Lionel James, how can we help you?
Yes, Dr. Moulton, I was wondering if parents and teachers conference, will it be held on Zoom?
Almost everything we do now is on Zoom. Yes, sir. Probably you'll be either contacted by phone or you'll have an opportunity to do it like this, where you'll kind of get a face-to-face back and forth. But we'll practice communicating with parents a lot, so maybe we won't need as many teacher-parent conferences on that one day. But we hope to stay in touch and utilize the technologies that we have. Again, the idea that we're going to be able to provide devices to every single one of our students means that parents get to learn how to act in that environment as well. So if you hear the term Canvas, that's our learning management system, and we'll be able to do some things that way. But yes, Zoom will be used.
Okay,
Mark
thank you so
Kellner.
much.
Okay, thank you. Mark Kellner.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my question is about the SAIL program. If you have chosen SAIL, how are we going to handle assessments when it comes time for testing?
So Julia or Michelle, you want to talk about what your conversations have been?
So I'll start with the high school level. Most assessments will be able to take place virtually. Teachers can set up parameters in Canvas, such as time constraints and different things, to monitor students. We have talked at the high school level about our honors and AP course classes, having students required to come in once a grading period to do an assessment that is proctored. And if we do that, what we're looking at right now is that they would come to the Scott building and we would be able to set them up, space them out, do all the protocols for safety and monitor them as they take an assessment. That's not 100% set in stone yet. That is something that we have discussed. Michelle, do you want to talk about the lower grades?
Sure. And for middle school and elementary, most assessments would take place in utilizing Canvas. Now, for things like STAR testing and other testing of that nature, it would be kind of a similar thing, is that TEA is extending the window for testing, and so we would schedule groups to come up probably to the Scott building and spread them out, and have it as a proctored exam in that format.
Thank you. Callie, question.
My question is on the curriculum. So if we start in SAIL and we move over to on-site, are those going to be lined up so that, I understand that they're different and it's going to be trial and error, but that would be just from already, feeling like my son might be a little bit behind and we're trying to work through those gaps.
Yes, there is alignment. So we've got two groups working on them, but we have all of our lessons placed in the Canvas system so that regardless of where you are, your experience is going to be fairly similar. But the alignment of the curriculum is essential. this year. So yes, you will, if you go from sale to on-site, you will change teacher, but we're in the same sequence of events.
Okay, and I have one more question on sale, and this is actually because of a good experience this summer. We just started the summer program, and my son has gotten 1 hour a week with his teacher and just a tutoring session, and it's been a really great, just for him to have interaction with a teacher that's not me, because he doesn't want to listen to me. So is that something that will be integrated into sale? A scheduled like weekly touch base where he gets a one-on-one time?
So Callie, I don't have an answer to that. I would suggest that we're going to ramp up our communication. So I appreciate that that's been successful, and they can think about integrating that in. Tina, you've been very patient, Tina, with your hand up. I see it. Ask the second to last question right now.
This is the town hall. Okay, thank you. This is a question related to, it's hurricane season, and we're coming into those active months. And I was wondering if there's weather-related problems with the internet systems. Will the students be given like extra time to turn in their assignments, or what if they can't get on the program that they need? How is that going to be addressed?
So yeah, we don't ever want to think about that, but we always plan for it. So thank you. We will take that under advisement. I don't know exactly how that's going to work, but we've always been very flexible during times of emergency. So I can't imagine that we wouldn't be, but it will be up to us to communicate that so that we're consistent across. Thank you. Okay, we have one last question. Michelle Puig. Michelle, are you on the line?
Yes, sorry.
Okay, what you got?
So I'm just, thinking about the face-to-face after the transitional entry. So you're talking about the one-to-one, that's going to apply to even the kids who are choosing the face-to-face? Because I'm just like thinking about what kind of capabilities we will have with technology face-to-face as well.
So yes, what we anticipate, or what we're planning for, we never anticipate, is that there will be times when campuses or classrooms will be closed because of viral concerns. And so if you've got an on-site group, you're working with your group of kids in the lab and somebody tests positive and we end up suggesting that you quarantine that group, they're going to have a laptop that they can take home then and be able to work with you remotely, even though they're in quarantine. Should they be able to use it at the campus? Yes. I can tell you at Ball High, the biggest drawback we have is plugs. It's not connectivity. They're going to be able to get wireless connectivity, but they are not going to be able to recharge very often. We are out of time, folks. So let me share with you that you have been very good to put notes in chat. Some of our staff have been answering that. We're going to make a copy of our chat. We're going to make the recording of this town hall available. On Thursday at 10 a.m., we are doing a Spanish version of this chat. And then we will also make available Ball High School Hybrid and the SAIL program for additional questions where you can zoom on in and ask those questions. We had more than 350 people at one time on this Zoom. That is incredible participation. We are so thankful that you stopped in, whether it's just to hear or to ask a question. If you have very specific questions and you want to do more, you can go into the communications at gisd.org and we will look at those, answer those, and be ready to engage with you. Thank you all for a great town hall, and we will see you around the block.